Good morning. We're going to begin now a brand new Sicha. This is, of course, part of the project Likkutei Sichos. It's in Chelek Yud Ches, volume 18, page 378. It's a Sicha on Parshas Mטות-מסעי, a beautiful Sicha. The Rabbi ties in the connection between both Parshias. It speaks about the strength gained through our Masayis. Let's begin. Aleph. We spoke about many times what the Shalah says. As the Parshas HaTeira haben Ashayches to their Zman B'Shana, wenn sie wird gelernt ungelernt. That the Parshias, Mטות-מסעי, which are always read, as we know, during the Bein HaZmanim, have a special connection to the theme of those weeks. Umuvan, as ich benegeh Parshas Mטות-מסעי, was their Kviyas is ständig in the Bein HaMetzarim, as they haben Ashayches miyechedes zum Teichen von Bein HaMetzarim. So we spoke about many times. The Shalah explains that the weekly reading of the Torah has a connection to the times of the year when they are read and studied. So the Parshas Mטות-מסעי, which are always read during, like we said, the 3 weeks of Bein HaMetzarim, have a unique connection to the theme of those weeks. And now we're going to explain the connection. The Parshas Zetzich on their Shaychus to Bein HaMetzarim become Pratim. So the connection between the reading Parshas Mטות-מסעי and Bein HaMetzarim is evident from several points. In Parshas Matis, der Mount Moshe di Bnei God Bnei Reuven dem Chet HaMeraglim. So Parshas Matis, Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to the tribes of God and Reuven, and Moshe reminds them regarding the sin of the Meraglim, Slivelcha di Zanen Farbliben in Midbar Mem Shana, and this is the reason why the Yidden remained in the desert for 40 years. Was es mit Dugma zum verhalten sich in Gott, was Chalosei to the Yidden who are in exile. An Anfang von Mטות-מסעי wird erzählt wegen dem Matzos. So the beginning of Parshas Mטות-מסעי speaks about the journeys, the Jews in the desert. Was we sagt in Medrash, Amar le'HaKadosh Baruch Hu leMoshe menah lehem kol hamekemes heichen chisuni kach nemer ele ma'anei Yisrael. And the Eibishter tells Moshe, list all the places where the people angered me. And for this reason, the Torah begins, as in today's Chitas, these are the journeys of the children of Bnei Yisrael. Und weiter said er, that sich wegen Ari Miklat, der in Hagalas was kum zu lib heilig nefesh b'shkoga. Similarly, and later in the Parsha speaks about the Ari Miklat, the city of refuge, to which a person was exiled for unintentional killing. So we see that the beginning of the Parshas Mטות-מסעי speaks about the Yidden in the desert, which the Medrash says, the Eibishter tells Moshe, list all the places where the people angered me. And for that reason, the Torah begins, Eila Ma'aseh B'nei Yisrael. Similarly, which angered Hashem, were the cause of Golus, which began by Bein HaMetzarim. And also, later on, there's also another parallel to Golus, and Parshas Mטות-מסעי speaks about the Ari Miklat. And what's Ari Miklat? That's when a person was exiled for unintentional killing. Other Vida Shalah is Mevar, or you could say that the connection between Parshas Mטות-מסעי and Bein HaMetzarim can be understood like the way the Shalah explains. As in Yonim wegen welche Sedetzich, but Parshas Mטות-מסעי, der Chet von Nedarim und Shvua, was es Pegen ben Neshama, und der Chet von Ritzicha, was es Pegen beguf, was Sedetzich in Parshas Mטות-מסעי, haben gewähnt dem Churban von die Bote Mikdashes. There's das Mevar Baruch. Or you could explain that the connection between Mטות-מסעי and Bein HaMetzarim can be understood what the Shalah explains regarding the other concepts discussed in the Torah, which is the sins involving somebody who makes a vow, oaths which cause a blemish in a person's neshama, and the sin of a murderer discussed in Parshas Mטות-מסעי that causes the blemish to the body. Now, these two categories of sin, the Shalah explains, this led to the destruction of both Batei Mikdashes, as the Shalah explains at length. So the Rabbi says, Shloimy, as the Shaychus von die Parshas zu Bein HaMetzarim, is nicht nur in dem Ein Hagalos, was is in Zemerumas. It's possible to say that the connection between these Parshas and Bein HaMetzarim does not only involve a remes to Golos within them, nor adrabah. And then the Sinas HaKeach, if they're avoided in Bein HaMetzarim, to Areizgin from Golos. So the Rebbe says, not only is explaining the connection between these parshas of Bnei Mitzrayim, but rather it's telling us also a primary importance. They also empower the Aveda for Bnei Mitzrayim that enables a Yid to actually leave Galus. What does that mean? Bir Bezeh, to explain this, Azei Vidas is Kipshutei, as Aladini Avelos from the Bnei Mitzrayim Teg, Zayin Klal Nit B'Shabbos. So when you explain the Pashtus, this minhag of mourning that are observed during Bnei Mitzrayim, which are not observed on Shabbos, Sizdach Ein Etzev Ba. As we know, Pialacha, it's not appropriate on Shabbos to be said. On the contrary, mitzvah la'amgebei, it's a mitzvah to delight on Shabbos. Was von dem zet man Shabbos is an Indian was es lässt sich nicht on die Zach Mitzrayim. Also noch mehr ist es beprimis yonim, wie der Tzemach said, the virus Shabbos is von Bnei Mitzrayim and in the beginning von Natum Nefula Makkah. There's an Akdam Nefula 15 says the fact that you're not allowed to be sat on Shabbos. On the contrary, you have to be delighted on Shabbos. From this, we see that Shabbos is unaffected by the negative dimension of Bnei Mitzrayim, and from the inner Alpi Chassidus, the Tzemach Tzedek explains that Shabbos of Bnei Mitzrayim embodies the as we know the motive of Makom Refulah Mako, you prepare the cure before the wound, because they precede and prepare the remedy for Bnei Mitzrayim. Similarly, it's understood. We call Shekim Beneged the Parshas Atera V'Chamalent in dem Zman, warum wir bald Asiyim b'Mishpat Tipada v'Shabbat B'Tzedakah, was Mishpat da meint dem Inyan von Teda, is moving as the Parshas Atera was me leint and me learnt in dem Zman, seinen an Inyan von Makim Refuah to the Makim from Galus. So similarly, these concepts apply, and to a greater degree regarding the reading of the Torah. And we know this period of time, like it says, Tzion will be redeemed through judgment, and those who return to her through tzedakah. As Chassidus says, that judgment refers to learning Torah, and tzedakah, as we know, brings the redemption from Galus. So it follows that these parshas that are read and studied in this week's represent a preparation of the cure that precedes the wound of Galus. And this gives us instructions and empowers the Aveda for Bnei Mitzrayim that will bring about the transformation of the period to Simcha Meidim. Das heißt, Ahira Nisneskeach, if they're Aveda from Bnei Mitzrayim, welche bringt them hier Gamer L'Sassan Simcha Meidim, and this Ahira gives us a power that the Aveda from Bnei Mitzrayim will be in a way of Sassan Simcha Meidim base. Bald is all in Yania Teda, Zane Betachas Adir, Mirosh came from Yania Elam. Uyad Zach is Bashkacha Pratis. So since every aspect of the Torah is precise in all details, and all matters of the world are all Hashkacha Pratis, when Yed is moving as Bashas the Kvias is Beifin, behind the year and Pashas Matis Zanim Chaboris is da Bazar Ron is Neskech Michelis in the Raved from Bnei Mitzrayim. So accordingly, in that year was 1978. So when the parshas, the Rebbe says, the parshas of Matas and Masei are joined together, there's a special lesson and a unique power generated for the Aveda by Bnei Mitzrayim. What is it now? The Rebbe explains. In Kipshutei, what is this? Simply put it, as the Yorin when Matas Masei and Nefrodes wären in the Bnei Mitzrayim gelernt und gelernt, bloß drei Seders, Matas Masei und Devarim. In the years when the parshas of Matas and Masei are read separately, only they and parshas Devarim are read and studied during the 3 weeks. Shas aber Matas and Mechubaris come to in the Bnei Mitzrayim Wochen nach Parshas Teda, Parshas Pinchas. Now, when parshas Matas and Masei into a single parsha, so then Parshas Pinchas is also read during the Bnei Mitzrayim. And the gewisse Kvias, Parshas Balak. And some years, in certain years, like in the present year, 1978, Parshas Balak is also read, was meleint in Tog von Yudzayin B'Tammuz, the erste Tog for Bnei Mitzrayim, which is read on the 17th of Tammuz, the first day of the Bnei Mitzrayim. Bald as in dem Zman kum zu Aribe B'Teira. Now, since there is an outpouring of terror during this time, it's verstandig as min hat durch dem euch a größere und starke Nisineskech auf zum Merappe sein, aber von der Makom Refuah, die Jana von Bina Mitzrayim. So, we also have understood that greater and more powerful energy has been sent down for this remedy in a manner which we said in Makom Refuah Makkah. It's also Adover Muvan as the Nisineskech is verbunden nicht nur mit dem Liebe Ebeter, nur auch mit dem Chibur von der Eidos, von dem Teichen von der Parshas Mטות-מסעי, mit der Shachas Michelis in the Zman Kanal. It's also self-evident that this empowerment results not only from learning the Torah, which is associated with these weeks, but also from the combination of the lessons resulting from the content of reading Parshas Mטות-מסעי, due to the unique connection at the time, as we said before. So the Rebbe says like this: "Wird man das verstehen, behektem abir, as das was in gewisse Shabbosim seinen zwei Sedres, Mechubaris, meint es nicht, as man lehnt in ein Shabbos zwei Sedres, nor der Yischabros is be'ofen as they wären ein Sedra." So this can be clarified based on the concept that on those Shabboses, when two parshas are combined, doesn't mean that the we're reading two different parshas, but rather when combining them together, they become like one reading. When we say muchach davon, was man nicht der Besonder in an anderes Mal b'Shabbos. This is evident by the fact that we do not read the two parshas separately, each in a different time on Shabbos. Shas malain sie zusammen. When we read them together, is the Chalukas Akriya of Shiva Kurim, al derech zen Chalukas Aparshas zu lieben Limud von Shira Chitas b'Mashach HaShavua, euch nicht an even was in Iskentik a Tetelung zwischen sie. Now, in the 7 Aliyahs, and similarly when studying the Chitas of the week of Mטות-מסעי, so it's evident that these two readings of the Torah, with a separation between them, we don't read and study 4 Aliyahs in one Torah. That's what the Rebbe says. Euch nicht vier Kurim Parshas, euch nicht an even was is kentik a Tetelung zwischen sie. 4 Kurim in Parshas in der erste Seder und 3 in der zweite Ketzah. We don't read like 4 Aliyahs in the first Parsha, 3 in the other. Or melent und melernt. Also wie zum Sehen von Parsha erste Seder zusammen mit der Schale von zweiten. Und die Brachos von El Achareh werden gemacht auf Psukim in beide Seder zusammen. So you see that in the end of the let's say this week's Parsha, today's Chitas and Parshas Mates, so the reading and the beginning of the second are combined in the 4th Aliyah, which is read and studied in one. And when the Aliyah is read publicly, the brachas that are recited before and then afterwards cover the psukim of both the parshas together. The Rebbe says the Chayda seemingly vibald as be'etzem zanen ze bazundere sedres vidos is mutgish in der kvias bekam schon wenn sie seinen nifrodes hat man doch gedarf machen zwischen sie auf einander teil al koponim kriyas parshas euch when sie sind zusammen. So the Rebbe says the Chayda seemingly on the surface, since they're in essence two different parshas, as evident from the fact that they're read separately in other years, so it would appear that there should be some type of distinction shouldn't be made between them. For example, when they are read as one, the parshas could have been separated in different aliyahs. So the Rebbe says from them gufas muchach, so from the fact that the parshas are not separated in this manner, so it indicates that as when the parshas and mechubaris während sie demot ein cetera. So when the parshas are joined together, they then become one Torah reading. Das says, Chotsch as jeder von sie hat ihr Besonder in ihrem Teichen, warum die Torah ist doch eingeteilt in Gan Storim, von deswegen, Schasse kommt die Quiz, wenn man lehnt sie zusammen, werden sie in Schaber als ein Parsha. Now, although each one of them has its own specific content and theme, we know the Torah is divided into 53 Torah readings, nevertheless, in the year when the two parshas are read together, they are combined and become a single reading. So the Rebbe said that from we have to understand in our matter. Parshas Mטות-מסעי kein Scheiches nicht zwischen sie, nicht wie andere Parshas Atera, bei welcher ein Parsha kommt behemschich, in Zman oder in Teichen, zu die befriedige Parshas. So the Rebbe says, unlike other Parshas where one reading follows another, so there's a chronological order, there's some sequence there. So the Parshas Mטות-מסעי do not appear to each other. Parshas Mטות, and the Rebbe explains why. Parshas Mטות sich redt wegen die Zivuim Umirois was seinen angesagt geworden und vorgekommen beim Seif Schnasar Boyen von den Jahren, wenn seine Gewinne Midbar. Maschenke in Parshas Masei, was hebt sich an mit Masei in Israel, is am ein Sachakel, beneged die Masei ist in gewisse Bereiche behem von die Svarim, Shmois, Vayikra Bamidbar, was das nimmt the Meshach von aller Boim Shanim Bamidbar. So the Rebbe says that Parshas Masei speaks about the commandment and events that took place at the end of the 40 years that the Yidden were in the Midbar, in the desert. Parshas Masei begins with the summation of the Yidden's journey while mentioning certain events that happened that were recanted in Parshas Shmois, Vayikra Bamidbar, and it basically encapsulates the entire 40-year period spent in the desert. So the Chayra, it speaks about two different things. One speaks about Parshas Masei speaks about the commandments and what Hashem is commanding them at the end of the 40 years in the Midbar. And Parshas Masei, as we said, Masei Bnei Yisrael is a sachakel of the journeys that which occurred in Parshas Shmois, Vayikra Bamidbar, which, like we said, encapsulates the entire 40-year period spent in the desert. So the Rebbe says in Daled, Shengret viel mal, you say Teres Abal Shem Tov, Ashmei Ashikru Lo Yiblosh Nakedesh, is der Chayes von der Zach, was tragt dem Namen und is Merames Oif Ir Teichen. We spoke about many times that the Baal Shem Tov taught that the name of an entity in Hebrew it conveys, has an energy and communicates that which it represents. Al der Zeh in is Bishmois HaSedros. So similarly, with regard to the names of the Sedros, the Teichen Primi from the ganze Sedra Zok sich Eis in the Shem HaSedra. So the inner theme of the entire Torah portion is reflected by its name. Ubin Yonenu, the Teichen for Parshas Mates is Merumas in their Namen wie sie wird gerufen auf Pi Minig Yisrael Mates und Azeh Eich Benegea Parshas Masei. So with regard to the names which they're referred to according to Minig Yisrael, so it communicates the inner theme of those Torah portions. The explanation: the gefindt zwei Teilen mit welche Yidden werden bezeichnet als Shvatim, Shvatim und Matis. There are two when you refer to the Shvatim. So there's two different titles that refer to the Shvatim. You have either they're called Shvatim and Matis. And Shvatim, a Shevet, and a Mata are different. They describe different branches detached from a tree. Whereas the Chiluk zwischen sie is, verstandig Leute sehr badait in Moshel, in Pashtus. Now, the difference between them is that, he says like this, Shevet is a Zweig, was is noch Weg. A Shekin Mata is a Stecken, was a schön hart von stark. So what's the difference between a shevet and a mata? So he says a shevet is a branch that's still very very soft. And matis implies a branch that has become, it's hard, it's firm. It's like a staff which is used for support. So that's the difference. They're both detached from a tree, but one is a shevet is very soft. And a is hard. And what's the reason for the difference between them? Shevet is a Zweig, was hat noch die Unike von Elon, und vor allem ist Tage mechuber zum Elon. Die Ribber ist der Onof frisch und weich und weich. Da kegen am Mathe wird Dafke, wenn der Onof ist abgeschnitten, hat mehr nicht die Unike von der Elon, when they're far as a chazav kashos. The Rebbe says the reason the difference between them is that a shevet refers to a branch that's still it's flowing with the sap of the tree, and sometimes it's even really connected. It's still attached to the tree, therefore it's still fresh and it's still soft. But mate is referring specifically when a branch has become cut off from its nurture from the tree, and therefore it has become firm and hard. And this is also the difference between the two terms that are used to refer to the Jewish people. Sai Shvatim and Sai Matas deitin on as Neshamas Yisrael stammen von Asherish v'Ilon, von Likkutei, von Ilona de Ilona. Now, both terms Shvatim and Matas refer to the Neshamas of the Yidden as they stem from the ultimate root root and tree, which is Ilana Dechaya, which is in English, it's the sublime tree. Nor the Teir Shvatim Vais Efta Neshama Vizim Mechum Metalikus Begili. Now, the term Shevet, that shows how the Neshama is connected with Elikus in a revealed manner. Vizi state in Advegas to Ilone de Leela, as it's revealed, as a revealed connection to Hashem when they are attached to this Ilone de Leela. Ubechlalis is Meramis Efta Neshama Vizi Gefinsich Lamaila. Now, in general, this term refers to the Neshama, the soul, as it exists in the spiritual realms, as is in a state of ongoing bittul and vekus, which is a self-nullification and cleaving to Hashem. When you describe a yid that he's a mate, that refers to their connection with their neshama. It's not apparent, and it says nikar begolei zer dvekus and likus. It's not clearly evident that they are attached to God. Is thus was the neshama kommt darab lamata in guf and nefesh bahamas was durch die Yirida in their guf and nefesh bahamas wird sie nisgashem in kilu vi aufgeteilt von ilana de ilana. Now through the neshama descending, the neshama becomes hardened by having to face the challenges of gashmis, and it's as if they were cut off from the ilana de leila, from the sublime tree. Und das is was matis is meramis al shem parsha. Neshama Yisrael kommen arop in Yirida, or when it's gashem nifrat on makar. Now, the name of the parshas, we say matis, refers to the neshama of the Yidden as they descended and become more misgashem, more, they have more material, to the extent that they're likely they look like an entity which is detached from its makar. Schenken der shem masse was badait in mingeta vekle gamri von friedigen art von unmekumt zu nenter zu Eretz HaKodesh a hechere art meint es baveda Hashem, aber baveda Hashem den Yesir v'halicha zu welche the neshama kommt zu durch der Yirida lamata an even von matas. Now, the name Masei, which means journeys, that indicates one departs entirely from his previous place. He comes closer to Eretz Yisrael, which is a loftier place. And in the parallel within Aveda, this refers to the ability to proceed in advance that the neshama gains through his descents to the physical plane, where it becomes mata. Das says, as dafka durch die Yirida, der gerechte neshama zu hechle dage legabe wie sie is gestanden lemeiner for the Yirida, which means that it's dafka through the descent that the neshama gains the potential to reach a higher level and the state in which it previously existed, the spiritual realms prior to going down to this world. Before the neshama comes down to this world, a yid's neshama is called it's aimek. It's static, like malachim. Because the love and fear of Hashem is defined and measured. Heißt aber nicht, als sie geht weg, der Gamri von ihrer Friedrich Maimon der Matze, und darüber wird das angerufen Amida. So even though the neshama continually ascends to higher levels, nevertheless, the neshama never departs from its previous level entirely. So therefore, it's all called standing. Aber durch in ihr Yurid Lamata in Guf und Nefesh Bahamas, die beginnen von Matis und durch See. Und mit sie ist sie mit keinem Mitzvahs, was ist Chachmasur Tzanei Yisparashal Kadosh Baruch Hu, kommt sie zum Inyan von Masse, sie wird befinnas Mahalich, be'ein Areichecha von the Neshama is given freer Zayin Deklamata. Now, by descending into the body and the Nefesh of Bahamas on the physical plane, the Neshama becomes a Mate. So we said before that Masse, becomes a Mate. Again, but through by descending into the body and the nefesh of Bahamas on the physical plane, so automatically the neshama becomes a mate, becomes hard. It looks like it's detached from the source. However, when it learns Torah and it does mitzvahs, which are Hashem's wisdom and will, so then, in other words, it clothes itself in the body, and even though it looks like it's seemingly separated from its source, it has now the potential for maseh. It enables to journey forth and become one who progresses, reaching higher levels than on which, when it existed in the spiritual realm beforehand, it was impossible to attain. Okay, we're going to stop over here, and Amrit Hashem, tomorrow We're going to continue in Sif and Oishei.